Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rollin'. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From legendary Uncle Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course, we haven't forgotten about you damn independent contractors. And now, here's this week's edition of Work Comp Matters. It's August 24th, straight up 12 noon. Welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. We are brought to you by the workcompcentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation in both California and around the United States, check out the Work Comp Central. They've got a free 7-day offer. And if you want, you can pick up their services. They're only $1 a day. And hey, I have them too. Work Comp Matters is also brought to you by A1 Law, number one computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system on the damn planet. 818-357-4120 for your no strings attached money back guarantee. $1 a day. A1 Law. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Steve Appell. As usual, I'm joined by the madman across the water, John Scalia, the chief of staff, the doctor, but he's not a medical doctor, Mike Zima, and my special guest today, defense attorney extraordinaire, Ms. Ann Bobchick. Hey, Ann, how you doing?
Pretty good, Steve. How you doing?
Good. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time coming on in again. I know you were here a couple of months ago, and we were talking about how you started at a new firm and basically, immediately hit with a bunch of fires that you had to put out. I was telling you in pre-show that you were like my favorite workers' compensation firefighter. And of course, now we have legitimately, literally fires in Northern California. I wanted to invite you on firstly, because you can give us some perspective. We're here in Southern California about how the fires are affecting you. I know you said they're kind of circling you and you're in the middle, so you're really not involved, but take a moment and talk about the fires. Then we can talk about how your defense business is going, putting out the fires. We'll take a break and with the news, Mike and John. And then in the second half of the show, we can talk about AB5, because I know you have a lot of experience on AB5. And by the way, before we get started, this coming Wednesday, we're off tomorrow. We've got a technical issue, so we're off tomorrow. Then I'm coming back Wednesday, and Ms. Karen Anderson, who not only runs a group called Freelancers Against AB5, so obviously she has a leaning, but sincerely, she is one of the, if not the smartest person I know on AB5. Ms. Karen Anderson is coming in Wednesday. But Ann, take a couple of minutes. Tell us what's going on about the fires up there. You're in Northern California.
Well, in the Bay Area, you have to understand the geography. There's North Bay, East Bay, South Bay, and the Peninsula. Peninsula is where San Francisco is, and then it goes down to and joins South Bay at around San Jose. East Bay is where Oakland is, and North Bay is Marin and Napa County. And we've got major fires surrounding Napa. We've got a fire threatening San Jose, and we've got a fire down on the base of the peninsula by Santa Clara. And there's over 600 fires because of the lightning strikes from about a week ago.
I was just going to ask, were all the fires caused by lightning strikes?
So far, that's what we're hearing. In total, they've destroyed over 1,200 structures. 5 people have died. And they're not anywhere near contained. They're between 8 and 22% contained.
And about over 350,000 people are displaced out of their homes.
Right. And there's going to be more if they don't get it contained. The LNU fire, which is the one near San Jose, is threatening to evacuate San Jose. It's also threatening to evacuate Fremont, Livermore, and it's getting darn close to Pleasanton. You have to understand the corridor there. Between like Pleasanton and Dublin, you then have like a bunch of canyons going down until you hit Fremont, and San Jose. And all of that is Chaparral Canyon. And that's where the fires really dug in. And so it's threatening the populated areas, both north and south of that corridor, getting very close to houses. And the one up in Napa actually started in Vacaville and Fairfield. Those are two suburban districts. Fairfield mostly goes to the Bay Area to commute. Vacaville mostly goes to Sacramento. They're about 15 minutes apart driving-wise on the 80 corridor. Well, it started in Vacaville, and then it went through the hills to the east and north of Napa. It's bad. Like I said, it's just not getting anywhere near contained. Also, the air quality. I mean, I may not be that close to any of the fires. I'm sort of like in the middle of that area, surrounded by it. But the air quality, I mean, it's all smoky. It smells like a perpetual barbecue. It's been like that for days.
People sometimes forget that in addition to the horrific damage done to the structures, excuse me, people being displaced, that the air quality when you have fires that are burning for weeks, days and weeks is terribly dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. I don't have any asthma, and I'm having some breathing difficulties where I am. Well, to like a coughing fit or start wheezing or sneezing. And it's because of the air quality. The other thing you have to understand, with that amount of people displaced, we still have a shelter-in-place order. How do you displace that amount of people safely in the time of COVID? It's impossible.
And even for those restaurants that have complied with the orders, because you're not allowed to eat inside, but they fence off like parking lot areas, how are you going to sit outside and enjoy a meal when it's not only hot, but you've got fires burning and the air quality is just deadly air quality?
Absolutely. Well, the other thing is temperature-wise, right now in Danville, it's 86 degrees. It is unhealthy air quality per my weather app. A couple of days ago over the weekend, it was like 100, 101, which for this area is insanely high. People around here freak out when it hits over 90. They think it's horrible. I used to live in Riverside County. I know what horrible is. It's not 90 degrees. So, but for the area, it was hotter than normal. But now we're still under this thunderstorm warning where we may have some more lightning strikes between now and the end of Tuesday. So this may get worse.
I was just going to say, I'm speaking with my guest defense attorney extraordinaire, who's right now giving us a report about the fires and the unhealthy air quality in Northern California. Ms. Ann Bobchick, I was just going to ask John, do you have a question for Ann?
Yeah, usually you don't get thunderstorms up there. I'm a Bay Area native. Usually it comes from like a weather mass from Mexico? Is that what happened this time? Is that where those thunderstorms are coming from?
You know, honestly, I don't know. I do know that a weekend ago when the lightning strikes were happening, it was highly unusual. I've been up here about 8-9 years now, and I can remember only one other time that I've ever seen lightning around here. But this was like rumbling, strikes of lightning, and just a few drops of rain at the end. So it was a highly unusual weather pattern.
Yeah, well, I grew up there, and I know it's unusual.
Well, I'm from back east, so I like thunderstorms, but I don't anymore.
You like thunderstorms?
So do I. Get them in Munich. I enjoy them. Yeah, they're nice. I mean,
Dr. Mike, do you have a question for Ann?
Well, I was going to say I lived up there for 13 years, and when thunderstorms did come, they came. They're rare, but when they came, they were gnarly. But, Ann, I'm wondering, how would you compare these fires with the crazy fires, Paradise and all that went through 2 years ago?
Well, they're very similar. The fire that went through Santa Rosa 2 years ago is not that far from where the Napa fire is now, which I believe they've listed it by letters. I never remember letters. But the fire that's up by Napa is only about a 15-20 minute drive from Santa Rosa. And that's where that fire roared through, killed so many people, and destroyed so many houses. It's just about 15-20 minutes to the west of it. And Santa Rosa is from where the fire is now. So it's the same Same story, different year.
Any prognosis? Are they getting any kind of a handle on it? 5%, 10% contained? Any type of number like that?
The three major fires that are around me are between 8% and 22% contained. And that's after about 6 or 7 days of battling it.
You got any rain coming through?
Well, not yet. And they said it was thunderstorms, but they didn't say it was a lot of moisture. It said it might be more lightning strikes.
Dry lightning, yeah.
I lived through the really bad fires that were in Riverside about 10 or 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think these are worse because I think that as much damage as the Riverside fires did, and like if you went to the board in Riverside, you'd have, like, your car would be covered in ash at that time. And I actually was on vacation and I was one of the last flights into Ontario Airport, and we flew over the extent of that fire. It was pretty bad. I think these are worse. They're not so close to a major airport, but they're getting really close to population areas.
Only 7 fatalities so far in?
The last I heard was 5. It may have increased, but the last I heard was 5.
But over 350,000 people displaced. But any death is not a good thing. We've got a few minutes left before the break. You know, Anne, when it comes to workers' compensation and defense attorneys, you are my favorite firefighter. When you, it's true. You know how to put out those fires. Only when you were my client,
Steve. Only when you were my client.
And Anne, you beautifully, when you came on last time, you told that story about when I was ordered to serve the complete file or all that evidence, and I just put in, we didn't brad anything, and I put in everything in there. And you questioned, Steve, you sure you want to do that? And I said, heck yeah. So when you came on last time, you had just started with the new firm. How is it going? How is your caseload? Clearly, when it comes to workers' compensation, defense attorney work, you are putting out fires, right?
Bunch of very interesting cases that are becoming time sucks because they're either large loss or very bizarre fact patterns. Without naming specifics, in 20 plus years, I've never seen a case where the insurance commissioner has issued a cease and desist order to what was allegedly assurance. Okay,
you were telling me about that. We've got a few minutes left. If you want, without mentioning, insurance companies or whatever, cannot do it.
No, that's just a teaser.
Oh, okay, got you. So you are working on one case where the insurance commissioner issued a cease and desist, and that's all we're going to say about that one. And what's the secret to putting out fires in workers' compensation insurance? What makes you so good at prioritizing the work that has to be done right now, and then the work that can be done in a day or two or a week later? What's your secret?
Objections assumes facts, not an evidence that I'm good at it. The trick to it is lots and lots of Post-its. You keep track of what you promised to do, and you look at them, and you go through your list. And if you make a promise to a client, you keep it.
And I've always said before, and I absolutely agree with you, that you return that client call ASAP, even if it's just to say, I'm in trial for the next couple of days. I got your message. I will get back to you ASAP. Returning client calls is the most important thing. Now, of course, us on the applicant side, and Mike can attest to this, we don't want to speak to our clients, okay? It's sort of like, I'm busy. I'll talk to you later. Leave me alone,
That's why I do defense work.
No, I'm being facetious. We do have a 72-hour policy. Any client can talk to me anytime they want, as long as they call, and they'll get me face to face or on the phone within 72 hours. My name's Steve Appell. You're dialed into Work Comp Matters. My guest is defense attorney extraordinaire Anne Bobchick. She's been talking about putting out fires both in the community and workers' compensation. I'm going to take a short news break with Mike and John, and then we're going to come back with Anne and talk about AB5. This Wednesday, I have someone who I believe is she's the most knowledgeable person I know about AB5. Her name is Karen Anderson. She heads up Freelancers Against AB5. So yes, She does have a narrative. She does have a position, but she is extremely smart. And she's coming on without the questions being submitted to her in advance. For those of you that haven't heard, I rolled out the red carpet for the California Labor Commissioner to come on the show and talk about AB5. And she still won't do it without receiving the questions in advance. And I never give the questions in advance. Right now, we're going to have a little news break. Guys, I don't know if you wanted to do your news first and then John, why don't you do your segment first? And then we'll manage time with that. I saw a news blurb about a new rule that's being proposed in Munich, Germany, that in my opinion affects all independent contractors, employees, and employees in California. And that news article was about dogs, man's best friend. So, John, take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. And what the heck is Munich, Germany trying to do about dogs?
Well, first of all, it's not Munich, Germany. It's the federal legislature. But let me say that I have often said that I would rather be a dog in Germany than a poor person in America. Why is that? Well, for one thing, Americans have kill shelters. They kill 1.5 million animals per year. In Germany, no animal gets killed unless it's declared a public nuisance. The second reason is that, so nobody would kill me. And the second reason is that dogs are welcome pretty much everywhere here. They're greatly beloved and they go with their owners everywhere. You buy a ticket for the bus, your dog goes with you. However, we have a German legislator who belongs to the Christian Democrat Party, which usually is analogized to the American Republican Party. She would be a Tea Party member. And her name is Julia Klockner. And she was the wine queen of Germany. Yeah, right. The wine queen, kind of appropriate for Fox News, a pretty talking head. Anyway, and she actually gave a bottle of wine to the Pope as the wine queen of Germany. And so she comes from a fairly rural part, or not as industrialized part of Germany. It's a lot less rich, which means it's a lot more religious. And part of her degree as an undergraduate was in Catholic theology. I know Catholic theology. Let's go to Jerusalem. We'll kill the Muslims, and let's go to Spain and we'll kill the heretics. Whatever. Anyway, she belongs right there because she's against abortion. She's against stem cell research because Catholics are against abortion because they only want to kill people. They only want to kill fetuses once they become adults and are subject to capital punishment. Anyway, Julia Klockner has suggested that there's a rule about dogs. Now, let me tell you, she is the minister in the federal government of Food, Agriculture, and Consumer Protection. So I'm asking myself, where does a dog fit in there? We're in Germany, not Korea. The dogs aren't food. They're not part of agriculture. I mean, we have agriculture, but there aren't that many working sheepdogs here. And consumer protection. I mean, German Shepherds are smart, but I've never seen a German Shepherd smart enough to sign a contract yet. So what's she doing talking about dogs? And maybe she had too many bottles of wine. I don't know. Anyhow, she said, well, we all know that dogs need external stimuli. So I'm going to propose a law that Germans have to take their dogs out twice a day for an hour a day to walk them. And I'm like, are you out of your mind, lady? I don't think this rule has a chance of passing. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible that she would do this. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And to be honest with you, I have no idea why she's doing it. But just to let you know that, America's not the only place where you have insane politicians. And that's the view from this side of the pond.
And I thank you very much for that. Guys, Mike, go ahead and give like one or two news stories, and then I want to get back to Ann and I want to talk about AB5. So go ahead, do a couple news stories, and then we'll get back to you.
All right, real quick. 3 massive wildfires chewed through parched Northern California landscape as firefighters race to dig breaks and make other preparations ahead of a frightening weather system, packing high winds and more of the lightning that sparked the huge blazes. There were hundreds of other wildfires burning Sunday across the state, and nearly 250,000 people were under evacuation orders and warnings. John?
As more hospitals merge, California eyes stronger oversight. Attorney General Xavier Becerra wants the power to block hospital mergers that he says would limit competition and drive up prices. setting up a fight in the state legislature this week over the future of healthcare delivery in the nation's most populous state. Becerra can already block or modify the sale of nonprofit hospitals in California, but a bill set for a vote would let him review most health facility transactions before they happen, giving him final say on things like whether two for-profit hospitals can merge or whether a nonprofit hospital can acquire a doctor's office.
All right. Thank you. Actually, we're just going to cut it off right there because the dog story just took up a lot of time. We're with my special guest, Ann Bobchick, and I want to talk to her for a little bit about AB5, and then we'll close the show. But we've got probably the smartest person who's most knowledgeable about AB5 that I know of, Ms. Karen Anderson, Freelancers Against AB5, is coming on Wednesday. But Ann, you've done a lot of work with independent contractors. You're familiar with Assembly Bill 5, which is now law. However, it's been appealed. Also, Proposition 22, which is on the ballot for this November, essentially repeals AB 5. Plus, we have a stay that was just issued by a Superior Court judge, whereas all Uber and Lyft drivers, a couple of 100,000 of them, as of last Friday, were going to have to be classified as employees. Well, Uber and Lyft basically doubled down, and they did it in cahoots with each other. So John and I had a discussion about collusion, but they basically said last Wednesday, Uber and Lyft said, you know what? We're pulling out of California. We're going to cease to do business. And within 24 hours, there was a stay on the order from Superior Court that will probably remain in effect until the election, if I believe till the end of the year. And what's your take on AB5? And we can start with the Uber Lyft drivers, but what's your take on AB5?
I think that we needed to do something about the independent contractor issue for a long time. But I think this legislation was ill-conceived. I think it was very broad-handed, and it didn't really address what needs to be done. You have a gig economy. Life is changing. These are people who need the extra cash. Sometimes it's their primary income. And they want to either work on the side, have their own independence, do what they, just work on a case-by-case basis. So you have that impulse coming from a workforce. And then you have companies who don't want to pay them the work comp and their benefits and utilize their services. I think there's a middle ground there. Sorry for interrupting. That's exactly what I was saying last week. There has to be some middle ground, because you got a couple of 100,000 just drivers. We're not talking about the rest of the gig economy. And then you have millions of people like me, I suspect you, who very much enjoy the low prices that we get on with these Uber Lyfts. And if it just goes— It's not so low, but yes.
Well, okay, fine. But if it goes completely in the other direction and all of a sudden their employees making $15 an hour, our rides are going to triple, if not quadruple in price.
That's true. And the other thing that you have to understand is that after this legislation took effect in January, we ended up with a pandemic where we need the gig economy. This is not the right time to be upsetting the apple cart. People are depending on Uber. They're depending on Instacart. They're depending on DoorDash. Now is not the time to push, let's not have a gig economy. But we do need to have a conversation about what a reasonable compromise is. And I think what probably should happen, though I doubt it would be this reasonable, is that you continue having them as independent contractors, but Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, with their large market share, would negotiate contracts for coverage at a reasonable rate that their drivers can buy into, and that they would have to have some kind of a coverage in place to be an employee or to be an independent contractor. I think that's the compromise.
Did you mention Instacart?
Yes, I did.
I've never heard of Instacart. I know
Delivers
DoorDash. I knew
groceries.
Uber. Okay, so they're the grocery. They deliver the groceries.
Right. It'll shop
Gotcha.
at your local market. It'll deliver groceries remotely, leave it at your door. I've been using it because I'm in a high risk group, so I try not to be out in public. But yeah, you can follow your shopper around on your phone. If they have to do a substitution, you can chat with them like, I don't want that. Don't get me that. But
now,
it's a pretty
when your Instacart person delivers it to your door or whatever,
I get a text.
When you bring the stuff home, are you wearing gloves? Are you washing the boxes off again? What are you doing once you get the bag of groceries?
Okay. The time for a virus to stay on a surface is 1 to 2 hours. It'll be fine. I put it away like normal groceries. And if it's something that's produce or something, I wash it anyway before I use it. But otherwise, I just put it away like normal. Let's not get completely excessive here. Wash your hands, use your mask, take reasonable precautions, but don't go insane.
I agree with you 100%. Use common sense. John, 6,000 miles away. I don't know if you have beer, that German beer delivered to you, but do you have a question for Ann about AB5 or the gig economy?
We have beer delivered to us.
So do we.
Okay.
Instacart will do it, and so will DoorDash. Just let you know.
Yeah, good German beer. Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's got to be some reasonable compromise available. I'm not sure what it is because I'm not actively involved in the practice of law and haven't been for a while. But obviously, some people need complete independence, and some people need the protection that is offered to employees. And it's ridiculous that Americans are just basically left out in the cold. Shouldn't happen in a country as rich and as developed as the United States.
Dr. Mike, you've used Uber once and swore up and down you would never use it again for whatever reason. Any questions for Ann regarding AB5 or the gig economy?
Well, I don't know whether I've sworn up and down that I'll never use it again. I suppose there's situations where I would use it. But Ann, I was thinking a couple of days ago that the answer might be an opt-in or an opt-out for each individual person. Is that the compromise you're thinking about?
No, what I'm thinking about is that Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all the really big companies use their economic power to negotiate a reasonable coverage for injuries. And to have an independent contractor that works for them, they have to have the independent contractor opt into that policy, but they wouldn't be an employee. So they would be covered. The state would be like assured that there would be coverage if there's an injury. It'd be at a reasonable rate, but there'd still be an independent contractor. So the market model would still work for both society and for these big behemoths.
Yeah, can I put in some input?
I think Mike had a follow-up question. John, you can put some input, and we got 2 minutes left, guys.
Well, Ann, I was just thinking, is there precedent for that type of arrangement?
I've seen other independent contractor cases where they've done that on an individual employer basis, and it works a lot better than not having anything out there. Let
me say that I used to represent Universal Studios, and I represented other studios. And it's an interesting arrangement because when you get a movie, you always see that there's a production company. That's not the studio, but the production company handles all the payroll, and and there's some legal argument. I mean, it's a close call, but the studio is the one with the workers' compensation insurance coverage, not the production company. Generally,
let me just say that I used to adjust claims for cast and crew because cast and crew did the payroll and the work comp. Go ahead, finish up, John.
No, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so that arrangement works there.
And thank you very much for that. And unfortunately, we are out of time. Always a pleasure to have defense attorney extraordinaire and Bob Chick on the show. Always learn something new. And wish you the best. And I hope you'll come on again before the end of the year, providing, you have time.
As long as there's no Armageddon, I don't hold out for that with these fires.
All right, very good. Take care. For my right-hand man, Mike Zima, for the madman across the water, John Scalia, for defense attorney extraordinaire, Ms. Ann Bobchick. Oh, Ann, did you want to give contact information, email your firm, or they just contact me if someone has a couple of 100 files they want to refer you?
Oh, by all means, give me an email at Anne, ANNE, at HMLaw, and the number one, don't spell it out, .com.
All right. I'm glad I didn't forget that. For Scott Walton of legendary Uncle Studios and all the good people back at WorkComps, the WorkCompcentral and A1 Law, my name is Steve Appell. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon for another edition of Work Comp Matters.